It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job, episode 148. Today, my name is Mike. That's Brian.
Yo.
Before we get started, I want to let you know this episode is brought to you by the Buildsters. Check out thebuildsters.com to find out how you can become an accredited Buildsters Pro member today. You'll instantly become a part of the network of the best suppliers, manufacturers, and contractors in the industry, where you'll have the ability to showcase your work to thousands of qualified buyers. Stop paying for leads that don't convert and become a Buildsters Pro member today. Welcome. How are we doing?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Our guest today, Nadine Weiss, president and owner of Complete Demolition. How's it going, Nadine?
It's going great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like there's like spans of time where we have guests come in and I love it because there's that instant connection, right? There's that human interaction that we miss sometimes when we are on Zoom. And it's been a few Zooms.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, so now we actually have somebody in. So good to see you today. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see people in person. It's so lovely.
Right. I know we're at a year and several months into this, and it felt like I remember when this all started. It was like 2-3 weeks, and I thought maybe 6. And now we are 14 months. 15.
My mom about passed out when I told her we're going to be home for at least 4 months. When they said 2 weeks, I said, no, this will be 4 to 6 months. My mom wanted to hit me. And here we are 16 months later. It's
the never-ending COVID.
All right.
Anyways, beyond that. Well, Nadine, thank you for coming in. I wanted to kind of start off the show and just ask how you got started in the industry and how you got to where you're at today, president and owner of Complete Demolition. Let us know your journey.
Sure, my pleasure. So my father called me about 6 years ago and said, hey, my key people left at my little demolition business. Why don't you come help me out? I need some sales.
Okay.
And I said, no way, Dad. That's not going to happen. You don't need this. Go close the thing down.
Yeah.
And he says to me, Nadine, I've never asked you for anything. I asked you to show up one day a week.
Deep. Yeah.
That one hurts a little bit. That one gets you.
And so I started coming one day a week, and I said, what could I possibly do in one day a week? And he says, I know you can. Just come one day a week. That's all I'm asking of you. Needless to say, over the next year and a half, I brought in several new clients. You should know this was kind of a side gig for my father. He's an attorney with a law office who gave a million different people $5,000 that he trusted to start a business. A few of those businesses took off. One of those businesses was this interior removal company. So it was always this kind of side.
You said he gave away the $5,000 to start the business?
Well, people would come to him, invest. He'd be partner to a million different people who came to him via the law practice.
Makes sense.
That he'd have a relationship with.
I thought he was just handing out $5,000 every day. Hey,
can we get $5,000? Can we get your dad's address real quick?
Yeah, no. He's not a wealthy man, but he has done well as a businessman and as an attorney, and mainly because he trusts people. So one of those people was a client of his and turned in and came to him and said, hey, I want to start this interior removal company or soft demo.
Right.
And he said, sure, what's it going to cost us to start? And I'm guessing $5,000 because that seemed to be the number with everyone. That seemed to be his number.
His magic number.
And it took off. And it was always a little side investment that ran out of his office that he dealt with the problems. He was the contractor of record. He has a history of construction and engineering, so he understands how things are built. And he really never did much with it except on occasion when there was a problem. And then one of the key employees, or the one person running it, got up and left with most of the business one day.
Oh, wow.
And his ego got in the way, and he says, I'm going to take this thing back over. And so he did. And he called me when he was at the point where okay, I got things running again. I just need some more sales. My background is sales. I've sold a million different things, and I'm very entrepreneurial. Yeah. So he said, come help me. Just do the sales one day a week. You just have to do this. Now, needless to say, I'm still perplexed by this, but one day a week did do it. You can do sales in this business one day a week.
Tell my boss. Let's go one day a week.
So one day a week turned into 2 days a week. And at some point he got an offer to sell it. And And I said, take
Do
it,
it.
Dad.
Do
Just do it. Okay. This thing is a lot
Were you
more
doing
work.
anything else at the time also?
No, I had stopped working to raise my kids, and I
Okay.
was doing some nonprofit volunteering.
Okay.
And my husband had recently taken a sabbatical from work. So the way my father saw it is, they don't need you
Yeah.
at home. Just come help me out. And then, so that's kind of how it turned into 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So needless to say, he sells it, I don't know, sometime in that year. Comes back to us in tatters about 6 months after that.
Oh, okay, wow.
Sells it, self-finances,
Yeah.
comes back to him worse than it was when he was doing all this.
It's just a business that won't go away, huh?
And he says to me, you got to come help me again.
Again.
And I said, okay, but if I'm going to do that, I have to get involved in the operations side. Like, the product isn't so great,
Right.
Dad. So obviously he lets me, like he cared, right? So I'd sit on job sites for hour after hour, just watching how these things are done, what different things you remove, what are the complications of that, what are the problems of that. I'd sit there timing, which freaked out the guys, but it helped, helped get our numbers right? So in commercial demolition, selling is a lot more about estimating than about being about 3 martini lunches, right? So it's a lot different than my history of sales as well. It's really more about the product than about being charming,
Right.
Or follow-up. Well, follow-up's important. So I start working on the operations for a few months. It's in tatters. And he turns to me, it's about to be his 80th birthday. And he said, and Anthony Scalia had just died at 82.
Okay.
Is that the
Supreme Court Justice
Yes.
who
Yeah.
died suddenly,
Right.
And he says, you know what, Nadine, you're totally right. Let's just close the damn thing down. I could die at 82 like Anthony Scalia. I'm done. I want to spend time with my family.
And now your ego gets in the way. Oh.
No, I don't think it was ego.
No.
The way I saw it was, well, there's only one way to go is up. It's as far down as you could possibly be. I have a handful of truck. He's garnered some pretty good workers. And I talked to my husband, and I promised this is only going to be 30 hours a week max, maybe 40 just to get started, and then to bring it back up to par, and then it will run itself. Because all these years it was a side gig in my dad's office. So that's what I really thought could happen. And he says, okay, sounds good. Good investment if it works. And she's right. I mean, we own the equipment. What could happen, right? So within 2 months, I had fired all management estimating people. As I found all the problems in the numbers, I'm replacing the main admin within probably 2 to 3 months. But the good people we had were the workers in the field.
Right.
They were good.
Yeah.
And I'm working 18-hour days. I'm regularly pulling 24-hour shifts overnight on demo jobs. I am hiring people and walking onto job sites, seeing what they're doing and firing them on the spot. So
She's coming with an axe.
I think it's pretty intuitive what's safe and what's not in this business if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I'd walk on a job site for guys who supposedly knew what they were doing that had hired from other demo companies, and I'd see them doing things that were so unsafe. And I would say, bye, see ya. I'll get this done tomorrow. Like, not on my watch is anyone getting hurt or severely hurt. Right. So that first year was really long, crazy hours. My kids are still fairly young. They were very young at that point. So I regularly left for work at 5 a.m. and then came home about 4, had dinner with my family, and then would go up to the dining room table to bid after dinner and like into the night. Yeah. Because I had trouble doing it during the day because now I had fired our estimator as well. Hope he's not listening. I do like you as a person. And that went on for about a year. The first year we grew by about 3 times.
Wow.
We just broke even because obviously when anyone in construction knows, our numbers were a mess.
Yeah.
We really, our accounting was a mess. So then by the second year, we got all our accounting in place. We have good people working in estimating and in the office. Needless to say, now we have management in the field, and we're 10 times the size that we were when I took over. I think that's 4.5, 5 years ago.
I was just going to ask. So when was that year one that you took it over after your dad was done?
It was a little bit more than, I just finished my my 4th year of taxes.
Okay.
That were me 100%.
Yeah.
We've replaced all the trucks, but several
so you're about
more.
4.5, almost, yeah, under 5 years though.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
COVID, right before COVID, I felt like we had management really working like a finely tuned machine. We have people in the field instead of me at night as well, whose job it is to sit there at night and check up on people and to work on the safety and to develop the training and develop our people. And then COVID hit, and that's taken us for another wild ride, right?
Yep.
But we're still in a great position. I can't be more thankful for how things have worked out, quite honestly.
So not coming from that background, I think obviously coming from the sales background and not having a lot of experience operationally in the construction side, I'm really curious to know how you went from firing everybody to within a few years having a team that's solid and able to grow as much as you have. What was that process like? Where are you finding those people? What were you looking for? Because that's huge, right? That's key to any company, but we're here talking about construction, so it's important, I think.
Well, there's a lot of questions in there.
Yeah.
So the first part of that is, how did operationally I get here? So in the sales, I kind of group it all together. I actually bought and sold and started a handful of companies before that. Mm-hmm. I came back to LA.
It's not your first rodeo.
Not entirely. Yeah. So I had bought an ailing ice house, which had a full delivery system and trucking system in place, which I also was in tatters, and I was able to find the problems and fine tune the logistics of that, and which was a trucking operation, basically delivering ice. The ice manufacturing is really not a big part of that. Yeah. So I had quite a bit.
Not a lot involved in manufacturing ice.
Right. So I'd found all the theft. I had found the problems that go wrong. And that was all commercial business as well. Yeah. Right. And then sold that for too little. And then I also tried to start a kitchen and bath company, and my timing was really off. That was in 2007.
Oh, yeah. We all know what happened then. I don't remember that year.
And so, but maybe that also taught me, the kitchen and bath thing also taught me I prefer to work business to business. I'm much better in a commercial environment than residential. It's very different, and that's not my.
Yep. No, it takes a special human to work with homeowners all day.
Right. Yeah. So while the timing was wrong, it also kind of taught me where I wanted to be. I also found in all of that, I really love building things. Yeah. And I know demo doesn't seem like building, but it is. Yeah. Right. So operationally, all of that, it sounds cliche to say, but all these different varied experiences
led me to here,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
And, lucky that I had a father who obviously wants to see his daughter succeed. And while it was a side gig, he knew the business inside and out. Right. Yeah. And there was his ex-partner who had sold out in 2008, who had started the company, and he came on too to help me. Oh, so the two of them trained me, and they're not really micromanagers at all, which was part of their problem with keeping this business. So I called them all day long. Well, this is what I'm seeing. Yep. This is what's happening. What do I do? Having good people in the field with good demo experience. I learned from our people too. And I learned from a lot of mistakes that we will not go into. I think that's mainly what led us to barely break even that first year. I still, thinking back on it, have no idea how we broke even. And then by the second year, that was still a rough year. I didn't sleep.
Well, I don't know that there's such thing as an easy year in this industry, but yeah.
Okay, well, I keep waiting. Tell me when someone tells you what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the second half of your question, right? Did I answer the first?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
People.
Yeah, I think that's the most impressive part to me, because labor in this industry is not easy to find. Good labor, and you've rebuilt an entire company in just a couple of years with quality people.
So labor and office are two different things, right?
In a sense, yeah.
And I still find labor really challenging, but I will say that we're cracking that nut. We've developed a training system from within, just because we've realized both in the office and in the field, the best people we have are people that we raise up from the field, whether it's our office, our field, or somebody else's field.
Yep.
So our field supervisor was a laborer who started with my father, who ended up being a foreman, who I decided needed to oversee the whole field. Best decision I could have ever made, and I consider him my partner in this business, even if it's not in writing.
Right.
Our estimating team now, one is ex-construction from another, like a friend's construction company, and the other started as a laborer in the field for us. He started, walked up to me at a job site at midnight and said, "Hey, I need some work, and I'll work hard, I promise. And I'm really into the gym. I know nothing about demo, so I kind of figure this will be good exercise while I'm looking for a job."
Swinging a sledgehammer.
And I said, okay. And we hired him, and then realized what a gem he was. And we're trying to find where can we use him better.
Right.
And he's now our senior estimator and trains the other estimators, new, old, whatnot, and manages
awesome.
the process. And I tell him all the time, "What else do you want to do here? Because I know you're capable of whatever you'd like." So those are two great examples of how we've grown people from within. Right now, the labor shortage is worse than ever. After COVID, or during COVID, which I find shocking. I think we all thought this would be a time to get people.
Then the government gave them all extra money to sit
A
home.
lot of money.
I don't know how much that is, and how much people are just nervous about leaving something that's working in this environment, that they're nervous to give up the devil they know versus the devil they don't know.
Right. Yeah.
And we've developed a training program. Demolition is a little bit more art than science. Framers and whatnot and plumbers and engineers will tell you that there's a plan of what they're supposed to do. And while they may not always follow it exactly, they're supposed to follow it, right? Whereas demo, you never know what's inside the walls. So these guys
Which we should get to later, because we want to know what's inside those walls. But
you are hoping there's something buried. I keep waiting. But they'd never tell me. I don't even hear when there's lead in the walls. So
La 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 la.
exactly. I have not had one of those stories. I'm sorry to tell you. I keep wanting to plant something and see if the guys will tell me after the fact. So our training process we brought up quite a bit from within. We now have regular safety meetings from an outside really great guy who actually works for OSHA on sites, and he works for oil refineries. He flies all over the world, and the guys love him and they respond to him, and
that's cool.
He's the best thing we've found. So whenever we have anything I don't like that I'm seeing, instead of talking to the guys about it, I now make him come do a meeting on Saturday about that particular issue, and have him show up at a job site or two. And a few times he's told me, "No, they're doing it right, Nadine. Sorry to tell you. It's all good." So we have a major safety program in-house now, and that's because I can't sleep well at night when I see things that aren't safe.
Yep.
We train from within. We develop guys. We offer tuition reimbursement. During COVID, as of now, we are finally at providing health care to our longer-term full-time employees. We provide vacation days. We do what no other demolition company
Yeah.
does, or demolition companies that are a lot bigger than we are. We
Yeah.
take good care of our people. They work 40 hours a week, week in and week out. Before COVID, we were averaging over 36 guys in the field every week, and we were regularly scaling up with more part-time people for various jobs. Now we're definitely lower than that now, but the guys who are working for us, they work all the time. This is not my,
nice.
I kind of say this is not my father's demo company.
Right.
We have,
Which I'm sure he's happy with, right? Like,
thrilled beyond
Multiple times trying to get rid of it.
thrilled. He could not be, he walks into the office sometimes with just a big shit-eating grin on his face. How did you do this, Nadine? During this whole time, I built out a whole nother office space in our yard because we weren't in our yard. We added several new trucks, and because of the diesel regulations, none of his trucks that he sold me are still in existence. Yep. We moved from just soft demo and interior removal into concrete saw cutting and concrete demo. He actually got us our C21, which is your hard demo license, just when I started about 5 years ago, maybe 6. So we've moved into all these other areas of concrete demo, hard demo. And now actually during COVID, it gave us an opportunity to breathe.
Yeah.
And we added concrete pour back to our list of services. So, and concrete demo, even though we added that 3 years ago, is 25% of our business now. We've expanded into, we do a lot of hospital work now, which was a savior during COVID.
Yeah.
We actually, under me, retail was the easiest to crack, right? So actually, we do a lot more retail up to COVID
I was going to say,
than under my father. And now we do a ton of industrial work, which was a blessing during COVID as well, the medical and the industrial. But our bread and butter was office space most of that time. I'm sorry, I diverged.
No, that was perfect. I was actually just going to get into that, is kind of where you guys are finding most of your business, and I mean you've answered most of it already, but
well,
I was going to say, how did where was that transition? Was that purposeful? Was that like, oh my gosh, we're in COVID, so we better figure something out? Or did you already have relationships over there or some kind of marketing effort that was feeding that?
So yes, no. No, it's very purposeful. So COVID, obviously there was 2 months of everything kind of came to a screeching halt on and off. Right. And then, so we said, what are we going to do? Right. And one of my workers had been pushing for us to do more concrete pour back. And I know that's what a lot of the demo companies do, but I just didn't have the bandwidth before to add another thing. Right. Not to mention I'm a big believer in, you ask how I got here. I actually know our business fairly well at this point. I don't know concrete. I have to learn about that. So that kind of gave us the space for us in the office to learn a bit, and then also start doing pour back for our existing clientele. I mean, the way we got into concrete demo, and if they listen to this, it will crack them up. So one of my larger clients was the first client I landed doing sales for my dad. And I walked into a job, I think that was more like 4 years ago, and the PM, who I just met and never worked with before on a fairly large big box space, says, Nadine, I need you to do the concrete demo. And I said, I don't know how to do concrete demo. And he says, well, figure it out, Nadine. And here's my budget. And I went, oh, okay. And then kind of figured it out. Our guys knew how to do much more than I knew. Brought a saw cutter in from outside, and that was the start of something. It became purposeful the minute I went and bought a saw truck and had it outfitted. Right. And then for COVID, we very specifically said, okay, what are we going to do? Our bread and butter is office work, and a large chunk of our other business is retail, and soft demo is what we do. What do we do now?
So retail's not open, offices aren't open. Yeah.
Right. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right. So I pretty much was on the phone with clients nonstop saying, hey, how you doing? And what are you doing? What do you need? And so concrete pourback started happening. We also started doing construction cleanup, which I don't know if that will continue or not, but we'll still do it now because a few clients got used to it.
Yeah.
We're regularly doing the overall hauling for jobs. Another thing, I don't know if that will last for once we get
back up and going.
Completely maxed out.
Right.
Well, we're back up.
Right.
The question is once we get maxed out again, it's a little bit different logistics. It doesn't fit into our normal model.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but the pourback is absolutely a part of our business now. There's just no going back, even if I wanted to.
You said 25% of your current business, right?
Well, that concrete demo became
concrete
25%.
demo. Never mind.
So
Okay.
the pourback, I don't even know what percentage it is
Yeah.
right now. But what I do find is it allows people who want to give us a contract for the interior removal, the concrete demo. It makes the numbers work for them.
Right.
Yeah.
To have the pourback in the
Right.
total.
Makes
Right.
sense.
And it
Yeah.
brings so a lot of little piddly retail jobs that were piddly become real size jobs by adding all of those
Right.
elements. And very often they didn't give us the concrete demo before because they were going to give concrete demo and pourback to one person, to one sub.
Yeah.
So we're winning a bunch of business that maybe we wouldn't have won before with a lot higher ticket revenue number than before. So it's
Smart.
raising our average on retail work.
Yep.
And with the amount of retail work that's out there right now, kind of makes sense to make $24,000 on a job instead of $12,000 on a given
Amen to
job.
that. Yeah.
So purposeful. I think we've been pretty purposeful about most things. Maybe not, the day that Billy turns to me and says, Nadine, get it done, figure it out, I don't care. Which funny, his owner of his company actually thought we were only in the concrete demo business and that was our bread and butter. And a big office job came up and I hear he wasn't awarding it to us. And I call him and say, what's up?
What's the deal?
Why are you not awarding us this office work? You're always giving us your concrete demo or harder demo kind of stuff. And he says, well, that's what you do. You're not really an office company. And I said, well, I'm kind of glad you think that because then we must be good at it.
Right.
But actually what we do day in and day out is soft, white boxing office spaces. That's what we're known for. We're the clean demo company. It's not really clean to do concrete. So can you please give me that job?
That's funny. And I love that mentality though, because hey, figure it out, and I have to figure it out, and I will do it because that's probably what helped you survive through this last year too, right? Without that mentality, I don't know that you make it through, without being able to diversify and pick different things to get into.
Well, I'm a big believer of don't hire people who aren't hungry.
Right.
Both actually physically hungry. I'm hungry because at the end of the day in construction, you have a lot of money outstanding all the time.
Yep.
And quite honestly, I don't know how you ever stop and don't lose this nut
money.
that's in this accounts receivable that you're just waiting on all the time. So to me, I have to keep going and get bigger and bigger so I can get that money into the bank ultimately. So I feel, although there's plenty of people to tell you there's no reason she's actually hungry, I am constantly feeling, I have that constant feeling that it's going to slip away out from underneath
Well, I
me.
think that's that sales mentality though too, right? It's probably why most salespeople, and we're the same way, right? Like it doesn't matter what number you're at, you want to hit the bigger number, and even when you get there, you're going to want to hit another number. So.
Right, I struggle. We struggle. I struggle. I fight. We have a CFO now too, and I argue with him about how big to get, and what makes sense.
Yeah.
And how fast, right? So
I think fast is probably the key there more than anything, right? How fast, because it's being able to set up for success before you actually get there.
Absolutely, and there's an investment to be made. Too.
Yeah. So what is your role on a daily basis? Where do you find yourself kind of?
So I'm still the general manager.
Okay.
I still have a day-to-day role. I would love to give that up. Anybody listening, give me a call. Part of the reason I do these podcasts.
So what does a general manager do? Sorry, I was swallowing.
Oh, no worries. I am actually the dispatcher. So whenever someone
Really?
books a job, they call me.
No kidding.
So usually part of that
You were
conversation.
like in it day to day.
Oh yeah.
In it.
Oh yeah. But the thing is, I usually only work 8 to 10 hours a day now, which I think is a beautiful thing.
Right.
And
not 20.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But what happens is when someone calls to book a job, they're really not just booking the job on the calendar, right? They're negotiating they're reviewing the contract, and negotiating the contract.
Right.
And then we have to sign the contract, which I actually take much more seriously than a lot of people.
You mean you actually read them?
Counsel actually reads them, and they compare it to the bid.
What a brilliant idea.
That's what
Yes.
I
happens when
can't
your
tell you how
father's
many
an attorney.
contracts we've seen from clients, and obviously we're not going to name names, but we've got over 400 that we see and they go, why did you sign that?
Yeah.
Do you understand what this tells you have to do or what you have to provide? Like, you don't do that. You can't do that. Like, or what that's going to cost you to meet those requirements. But yes, so read your contracts, people. And
Well,
if you
this-
don't want to read them, have an attorney read them, like you said. Yeah.
Right. So, well, I kind of numb over very quickly in them. So,
Just go comatose read them.
yeah. So he literally puts pink sticky tabs at all the things he wants me to notice and pay attention to, and especially your indemnity clause, which we
Right.
have to
Yep.
accept, and the same way we have to pass down to other people.
Hold harmless.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to cross that out for a while. It didn't go well. But
Well, I mean, you can cross things out. You probably can't cross that one out, though. But A for effort.
thank you for that.
We don't want to make you holy if we screw up. I apologize.
Well, it's funny. So during COVID, one of the first things that happened is the CFO made me actually read our insurance policies, cover to
Good
cover.
for him.
Right,
Yeah.
which was
It's enthralling,
painful,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
was-
so fun.
85-page general liability
So my
policy was
question,
fun, huh?
yeah. So my question afterwards was, wait, what are we actually insured to do?
Right.
Like,
Because your
it's
policy is
80
going to tell you all the things you're not insured to do.
Out of
Yeah.
85 pages, it was 83 pages of exclusions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did
That's
learn
about
a
right.
lot. So we actually, what part of that conversation is making sure we're not doing anything we're not supposed to do, which doesn't come up too often
Right.
because people hire us to do the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
But that is one of the conversations I have with people is when they try to negotiate with us is we have $7 million in general liability. Most demo companies have the minimum.
Yeah.
So when you get us, you get a good polished company
Right.
that does what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And when things go wrong, which they do go wrong, we take care of the problems.
Yep.
And that's what our job
And we're
is to
equipped
do.
to do so. Yeah.
We're equipped to do so, and if necessary, we will get more insurance at the get-go to do some of these jobs.
Right.
So we have those conversations, and I think some new clients, like we've gone into more aerospace type work and whatnot, are a little aghast that I actually read through the 150-page contract, and
Yeah.
I'm saying, well, this on this page and this on this
Yeah.
page actually contradict each other, so please tell me what the actual issue is. And I had a owner call me one day and say, Nadine, why are you doing this, redlining our contracts? And he's like, we're not going to have, it's only if really something bad really happens. And I said, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
why
Because
we're
when
doing
something
this.
bad
That
really happens, yeah.
our relationship won't matter to you anymore.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's why we go through these contracts. And I have lost new clients based on the redlining.
Yeah.
So, we choose who we work with. That's
Yeah.
actually part of our process is I say onboarding new clients and
Yeah.
making sure they understand what we're about, how we're different than the next guy. We pick up the phone, we return phone calls, we get you changes and bids fast. We leave the site clean, and if we didn't, we're going to go fix it fast.
Yeah.
So we stand by a bunch. I mean, when you talk about my history, the beauty is I come to this from a different approach.
Yep.
Most guys who run a demo company grew up on the back of a truck.
Yep.
And my perspective is very different. I came out of A-class office buildings, and I have different expectations for the way people act and work and how they treat each other. And we really value treating each other well and being treated well on the job site.
Yeah.
You don't harass our guys on a job site.
Well, I think what you said there is important too, is onboarding a client, right? I mean, I think so many contractors get in the rut of, hey, I need this business. This is, income. I need to sign this contract. I need to move on, and then I need to do the next one. And then they kind of get stuck in that cycle of not reading the contracts and not knowing what is probably best for them from a business standpoint. And in that is also the negotiation aspect, right? I feel like a lot of contractors feel like they don't have the power to negotiate, or they're not in a position to say, hey, I can't provide that, or that's going to cost me this much to provide that, and I need to, and they just sign and end up losing a lot of money, or losing business if in some cases. But so like you said, kind of onboarding that client and knowing that you have expectations also, right? It's not just their expectations of you, but you have expectations of them as a client, whether it's paying on time or providing the proper coverage or whatever it is. But I think that's smart, and I think, like I said, it gets lost on a lot of contractors.
Well, and it presents, I think, my grandfather used to say, although the context is different, he used to say, you write a contract between friends as if you're enemies so that you remain good friends.
Right.
And I think that spirit of that saying is true for what you're talking about, in terms of we write a good contract between clients so that way we can remain good clients for the future, right? And how that might translate to future clientele, right? So I think, to your point, I think that's missing. We've seen that, right? Yep. And we only look at it usually from the insurance standpoint, but there's
40 other pages in the contract.
Yeah, there's quite a bit more.
Are not insurance related.
Kudos to you. I mean, that's super smart. It clearly you have that support behind you with your father and that background that kind of helps with that. And obviously, a lot of our, contractor people don't always have that. But I think they have this, right? Yeah. They have hello, go check your contracts. They do have us because we do tell them to do so. Yeah. But I think that's super key, because there's a lot that will go wrong,
Well, I think you can also say, send your broker the contract to review the parts about the insurance, because it's really important when something goes wrong, how that reads.
Yep.
And contractors, GCs are definitely changing that language in such a way that the subs are just screwed if something goes wrong.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. No, fun stuff, man.
Yeah.
We rarely get to talk about the insurance on these things, so it kind of gets us a little fired up. Because you don't like.
Finally, it took 148 episodes.
You don't like reading those 48 or those 85-page policies, but they're kind of fun for me, especially when I get one.
When you realize they're getting screwed.
Yeah. Ooh, look what you did. Yeah. Good stuff, though. Good stuff. So let's get into.
Glad to provide that opening.
Thank you. Marketing, branding. What? I mean, obviously, look, we got some swag. So you're doing something out there. Are there other things you guys are doing and being deliberate about it?
So we get most of our business through the general contracting network pretty easily. We do a great job, and we get referred to other places. People leave, go to new companies, come back to us.
Yep.
Mall owners say, please use Complete Demolition. They've didn't break anything. Right. Or they left the place clean.
Right.
I don't really know. We don't need to go look for that kind of business. What I would like to see us do, and we are working on, is more getting more direct business from property owners and developers. We have some of that. We're extraordinarily careful and sensitive to the fact that we don't want to provide any conflict with our clientele, and we won't.
Right.
So that's a little bit hard to market, because we do have a few direct clients who sometimes just tell all the GCs in the building, please use this Complete Demolition.
Yep.
Or they say use Nadine, which I actually want to get away from. I would like it to be not Nadine.
Because at some point, Nadine is not going to be there.
Nadine wants to go on vacation a little bit more often. Spread the word. So doing this podcast, I think you actually reached out to me like a year ago, and I said I would, and then didn't follow through because I didn't know how to best use it.
Yeah.
But I think it is about getting word out there that we do regularly do work for developers when they're not doing the TI right away.
Yeah.
They just need someone to come white box the space so that they can present it better for lease and get a good price for that. I mean, we have a, B, and C21 license. So we have all the licenses to do a little patchback and the demo and make it look nice for the next guy. And a lot of GCs don't want to deal with being just overseeing the demo anyway. So we actually get a lot of calls from our GC's clients saying, they told me to just call you direct.
That works out.
Yeah. So, and we can do the safe off, and from safe off all the way back to patch back. Yeah. So that is a goal of mine for the next pandemic. I would really like to be on the mall owners speed dial when the GCs have no work. To just kind of, quickly clear out spaces, so our marketing is really word of mouth. Like I said, we're deliberate about accepting clients. And I try to make that clear from the get-go, how we work and what our expectations are. If you want the lowest price, probably not the right company.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is we're 148 episodes in. I don't think anybody has ever come on here and said, I have so much work because I'm always a low price. Because those guys don't survive, right? So I think it's just funny that everyone, there's and those people don't want to come on here and tell us about their business.
I was going to say, in general, those are not the ones that want to,
Right, so for demo, I go up against guys who are the lowest price, and I'll see them on a job walk, and I'll turn to my client and say, I can't beat his price.
And I don't want to. Yeah.
And I don't want to. I don't. You make me sign a 140-page contract that says I'm paying workers' comp, and our guys are far above minimum wage at this point, even with the rising minimum wage. Mm-hmm. I don't pay our guys $16 an hour cash. So if you want to work with a company that does the right thing, from taking the trash to the right facility to hiring people right and treating them well and leaving the place clean and dealing with problems when you call, who pick up when there's a problem, then we're the right company for you. If you want the cheapest company and you don't care about any of that, just don't tell me, then that may not be, we can't compete with people who take their trash to a dump. We take our trash to C&D facilities only. We could make a mistake in terms of which one's required for a given city, but it still went to the right place to be taken care of properly. That's important to me. I actually think during the COVID time I keep wondering how we can do a better job recycling. What can we do differently? There's other demo companies out there claiming they're sorting in-house that isn't true.
Right.
They're just delivering stuff to Mexico instead of nearby. And the fact of the matter is if it can be used in Mexico, I'm all for that.
Rather than just dumping it there.
But I'm not entirely convinced that that's what's happening with the material. So I keep trying to think of how could we be smarter in California, where clients really care about the environment, and it would cost more to they call it I can't think of the word, when they take it apart piece by piece so that they can easily sort it versus the fastest way. You think of it like in a historic building where they're saving the wood floors and stuff like that. So could we start doing work that way, but guarantee that there's like no trash, right? So that's something I strive for personally. I think that would be a really great thing to do and would set us apart.
Yeah, I was going to say that's got to
really cool.
Clearly differentiate you from competition if you're able to do that.
Right, and
especially on a big scale, right? Not just in a one-off historical building. Yeah.
Right. So I think clients don't realize how much we're sorting already, and we don't really brag about that. So it's actually been
something. Just because you feel like it's your job.
Yeah, it's not. It is my job.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's not something that we need to. It's like when somebody, like, hey, I just did that. Well, yeah, that's your job. Like that's what I expect. Come tell me when you do the things that are above and beyond your job. So, but that's why I say you probably don't doubt it, because in your mind, that's the basic of your job, right?
Right. I'm supposed to do the right thing with the trash.
Right.
And it's wrong to do the wrong thing.
Right. Novel concept.
Easy.
Right. But there's some things the government mandates right now that don't make sense. So like I'd like to see us doing, why can't people crush concrete on site for smaller jobs? Like concrete is only crushed on site for huge, massive jobs. Like you see on the side of the freeway, there's a crusher and you see that huge pile of crushed concrete and they're reusing it right back into the freeway, right? So that's an obvious example. But why can't we be crushing it on site for small jobs so that there isn't the effect on the environment of all of that hauling and trucking and all that? The trucking is massively expensive and it's massively bad for the environment. So we've actually been looking into ways, could we have mini crushers to crush it on site and then reuse it in some way when they, instead of something else. But if they're not redoing, that's complicated, because if you're not redoing like an asphalt parking lot, where do you put it?
Yeah. Fun stuff. So where are you guys headed now? What's the future look like for you?
Well,
what do you and the CFO fight over? Take us into those conversations.
I've never heard him ask that question before.
Well, you don't even want to know.
I need to add that to the sample format of questions.
Yeah. Did you not read the 85-page insurance policy, Nadine, when you accepted that job? No, I'm joking. If he catches that, then he's allowed to quash it. So how big we want to grow is really a point of contention.
Yeah.
And he has really good reasoning behind his thinking, and I have really good reasoning behind my thinking, and then COVID really got in the way.
Yep.
So I think that argument or heated discussion is on hold for now.
Kind of shelved, yeah.
Yeah, and then so we'll see what the next year looks like and go from there. My only goal right now is to get back to January 2019, right? Is that right? Or 2020?
Yeah.
Okay, so January.
There were a couple decent months in 2020. Yeah.
Oh no, we did awesome through March. I mean, we had those 3 months. We were on track for doubling again. So we tripled our first year, doubled,
Golly.
and we're on track to double again. When I was just like, okay, can we just breathe.
Yeah.
So I think it's really more about just diversifying our clientele into more direct work. Maybe we become the go-to for some owners, developers, real estate companies to just have a contract to just go clear out spaces. So that's really our goal at this point. We love our GCs. Some days I feel like I'm maxed out on the good ones because the people we work with know how we work. It doesn't mean we don't lose money sometimes on a job, but they know we live by our word. Yeah. And that takes a long time to build that kind of trust.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you've done it in just a few years, so it's pretty gold star.
That's remarkable. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think you can tell the thing. I don't think this should be remarkable, but we're honest and transparent.
And that's kind of sad to think that low-hanging fruit is what actually, but that's true. I mean, I
especially in this industry more than any, right?
Yeah. I can't remember, this is episodes ago, but there was somebody that we said, how are you differentiating yourself? And they said, I just do what I say I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And I thought, so simple and brilliant and sad, but brilliant, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's when people ask, how did I do that first year? All I did was follow up. Yeah. I deliver what I say I was going to deliver on the time that I said I would deliver it. Mm-hmm. And when there's a problem, make it right. Yeah. That's all I did.
Easy.
And clients, in construction, people always ask, so how long this is going to take? And let's just say you say 5 days. They say, well, I'm giving you 3. Right? And I say, well, let me see what I can do. But I said 5. Right. And they know when I say I'm going to show up on Tuesday on 5 o'clock, we're going to show up on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Yeah. And when there's a problem, I'm going to call them on, if there's a problem with that's really a problem, I'm going to call them on Friday and tell them that it's a problem. I'm not calling them at 3 o'clock on Tuesday and saying,
should have been there an hour ago. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we have a problem. Yeah. So in construction, there are problems. That's what GCs deal with.
Yeah. Right.
If everything went smoothly, their job wouldn't exist.
Yeah. No, 100% right.
So true.
Yeah.
So we just aim to be a partner with our clients.
Very cool. Well, I mean, we're getting up there on time, but one thing I wanted to talk about too, real quick, and maybe it doesn't have to be quick, but is being a woman in construction and more importantly in demolition, right? I mean, you grew up, not necessarily grew up in it, but you were involved in it from a very early age versus, being where you are now as a president. But maybe kind of speak to that a little bit. Obviously, you have the personality that I don't think that. You let people kind of walk over you. You seem pretty tough in that.
You got a backbone for sure. Yeah.
But
thank you.
Kind of speak to that a little bit. How's that been for you?
Well, I didn't grow up in it at all,
right.
Actually.
Yeah.
So there are days that are still like shell shock to me. Some days people treat me better because I'm a woman. Like I don't get screamed at by some of the older, not older, old school people. Right. Because there's a lot of young guys who were brought up in an old school manner.
Good old boys mentality.
In that screaming at people kind of approach.
Right.
So there's a lot of times that they look at me and they don't feel comfortable doing that, so I get treated better. And then there's a lot of days that I get doubted or underestimated. I'm happy to be underestimated. That's no problem. Because then
it's easy to overperform.
Right, exactly.
Go ahead, underestimate it. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's. I think there are people who believe I'm nice and try to take advantage of that. And what they don't know is you're nice and I'm very nice until you cross me.
Right.
And a few people have learned that the hard way. So I don't know if I always have a backbone that I need to show clients, but I know what I need to do when I get back to the office. To me, it's more about not showing I have a backbone. It's about doing our job properly from beginning to end, from the day you do a job walk and an estimate to writing that contract and accepting a job. It's about doing it right. And I'm not saying we don't miss things. I miss things. We're moving at a clip.
But you correct them when you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm honest about it. I called a client today, like, I didn't see this in the contract. That was never in our scope. Are you thinking that's in our scope? I want to warn you before we show up.
Yeah.
Because that would be far beyond what financially is in the contract. And he said, no, that was accidental. You're right. That was from plan set 1, not addendum 1 and 2. Your bid is accurate and that's accurate. Right. So to me, I call it onboarding now so that we're deliberate about that process. When people have appropriate expectations, that's how you're able to best manage a job, right? So to me, the contract isn't really about legal stuff. For me, it's all about, I even try and tell my kids this, like, you write a quick note, a follow-up with someone like, hey, this is what we talked about. That's my understanding that this is what we're going to do.
Everyone's on the same page.
So everyone's on the same page. It's not about a legal record or covering my butt because somehow I'm the demo company and, comes downhill. I'm going to end up paying for it. But if we can work that all out in advance, that's to your advantage and our advantage. And we have a lot of automatic language in our estimates now to help make sure expectations are appropriate. So we automatically, when we have a door cut now, it automatically says marked by others, even though everybody knows the demo company and it's in the boilerplate does not mark where the door goes.
Right.
But people always try and get us to mark where the door goes, and that's like a fool's errand.
Yeah.
So, so I don't. There are days where I think people have lost it on me, and I wonder if that's because I'm a woman or that's because they're truly insane.
Maybe a little both.
And I'm guessing it is a little bit of both. I am part of, and I'll give them a plug. 2 of the best things I've done is I joined 2 peer mentoring groups that come from different angles. And one's called Women's Presidents Organization. And I'm in a local chapter, and it's a group of women business owners, and you have to be making you're above a certain revenue threshold that's pretty decent. And we're the baby in the room. There's women in that group who have 15 years on me and $100 million.
But it's fun to be a part of that, right? I mean,
it's awesome
Yeah.
because they all started somewhere. A lot of them started their company and they know what it is to be in the trenches, and their advice and their support and just being there when you don't know what to do has been massive.
Yep.
And they also give you a reality check about it, not just being a woman or from construction. They've all been stolen from. They've all had bad situations, and it doesn't matter your gender, right? But they do have conversations that are a little different. It's a little bit more like, man, my day sucked. And I also joined another group called Chief Executive Network that focuses on the contracting world. Which is another peer mentoring group, but it's with other contractors from across the country. And so you're paired with a group or teamed with a group that doesn't overlap geographically so that you can have honest conversations about your business.
Yeah, have to worry about,
And you meet at like an airport hotel twice a year to have serious conversations. And they actually that group gave me a lecture at our last meeting about don't underestimate yourself and don't let them underestimate you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big believer as a salesperson or as an owner, you're my client and I'm here to do what you need.
Right.
And they actually accused me of not pushing back enough.
Right.
So so how do I deal with being a woman? I think joining those two groups was a lot of the problems I was encountering that I just didn't have the tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
And those two groups between the two have given me the tools in the toolbox. And they tell me, because they're all in contracting, so even when I have a issue collecting money, say, they know ways to get that money collected that I had never heard of. That I have other attorneys besides my father now who haven't told me about these ways. There are ways to protect yourself that I
would have never found out.
No, they go into one of these meetings and say, "You'll never believe what happened to me." And
that's
say,
fun, though. I mean, we just talked about that on the episode right before you too. Is same kind of thing. Is those peer mentor programs and groups and how vital they are and how valuable they can be. And a lot of it has to do with being able to one kind of humble yourself a little bit to know that you need that, right, to be able to join one of that, and then also two is to kind of set aside your ego a little bit in the sense that they're not here to steal my ideas or steal my business or do anything. This is all about kind of all of us growing together and the like you said, the tools in the toolbox that you might not have. Right.
I mean, I recommend that to anyone. Peer mentoring groups are just awesome.
Yep. Very cool. Well, we'll let you run and we'll let you get on with your day and keep knocking stuff down and tearing stuff out. But before you do, I want to let you give a shout out how people can find you, how they can get a hold of you. And
sure. We do have a website. It's not the best, CompleteDemolition.net. And I think it's better to go to LinkedIn and find Nadine Weiss or our Complete Demolition page on LinkedIn. And we're also on Facebook. Follow us. We'll post this after words.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nadine. Stay safe out there, and we look forward to watching you grow.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No,
thank you for the time.
Yeah.
Out. Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.